Jenny, and I'm back at it with another video. Now I'm sorry for not posting very recently, but uh decided to focus my channel on more information based materials such as tests for all cancer. Sorry for the commotion. And today we're going to be going over the first two types of cancers in alphabetical order: ALL, acute lymphocytic leukemia, and AML, acute myeloid leukemia. Now first, in order to understand how tests work for diagnosing ALL or AML, we will first watch a video surrounding how leukemia develops in general.
Types of leukemia are named for the cells they originate from and how quickly they develop. For example, lymphocytic leukemia affects white blood cells called lymphocytes. In this disease, too many lymphoid stem cells develop into abnormal lymphocytes. Myeloid leukemia affects white blood cells called myeloid cells. In this type of cancer, too many myeloid cells become abnormal and divide into abnormal myeloblasts or granulocytes, which are different types of white blood cells. Each type of leukemia can be either acute, which means it progresses quickly, or chronic, which means it develops over time.
So that's as far as we're going to be getting today in this video. And in general, for message surrounding testing for acute lymphocytic leukemia, we have complete blood count, CBC. What it does is it measures the number of red blood cells, white blood cells, and platelets. We also have the peripheral blood smear, which is when a drop of blood is smeared across a slide and then looked under a microscope to conduct a soil analysis on the cells. We also have the blood chemistry tests, where we measure the amounts of vein chemicals in the blood. However, they are not used to diagnose leukemia, but it is a test that you can do. And some bone marrow tests may include bone marrow aspiration and biopsy, which is when samples are usually taken from the back of the pelvis, hip bone, by bone marrow aspiration and biopsy, which is usually, and those two are done usually simultaneously at the same time. We also have cytochemistry, and in cytohistochemistry tests, cells are put on a slide and exposed to chemical stains or dyes that react only with symptoms of leukemia cells, and these stains cause color changes that can be seen under a microscope, which can help the doctor determine what type of cells are present. For instance, one stain will turn parts of the acute myeloid leukemia AML cells black, but it has no effect on ALL cells. We also have flow cytometry and immunohistochemistry, and for both cytometry and immunohistochemistry, cells of a cow are treated with antibodies, which are proteins that stick only to certain proteins on cells. For immunochemistry, the cells are examined under a microscope to see if the antibodies stick to them. They may have some proteins, while in flow chemistry, a special machine is used. And now we just have a diagram comparing what normal blood looks like compared to blood infected with leukemia. Because leukemia is cancer in the blood cells. Now we have just some tests for acute myeloid leukemia. And those may include blood samples. Now, blood samples are the most commonly the first test done to look for leukemia, and blood is drawn from the main vein in the patient's arm. We also have blood marrow samples. Now, leukemia can start, most commonly starts in the blood marrow, so analyzing the bone marrow for leukemia cells is a key part of testing for it. And bone marrow samples are acquired from two tests that are almost conducted simultaneously at the same time: bone marrow aspiration and bone marrow biopsy, like I've discussed in my previous ALL slide. So yeah, because AML and ALL are fairly similar, they also share a lot of similar testing methods for diagnosis, and the samples are usually obtained from the back of the, like I said before, pelvic hip bone, but occasionally they are taken from other bone instead. However, if only an aspiration is conducted, it may be taken from the sternum, which is the breastbone. And yep, and this time we just have normal bone marrow versus bone marrow with AML. Yeah, you can see a drastic difference here. As you can see over here, we have AML blasts all around the bone marrow. Yep. And thank you, and I hope to see you next week.